Alright, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to stop quickly from higher speeds. So once again, I'm going to read a little bit of the braking chapter in Lee Park's book, Total Control 2nd edition. Highly recommend picking up this book. There's a chapter for everything you can imagine: body position, suspension setup, throttle control, line selection, vision, fear, concentration, attitude, everything. So go to MotoJitsu.com/shop and then click on the Lee Park's design link. It's an affiliate link that goes to Lee Park's website. And that's where you can also find the gloves, strap-on knee pucks, tire pressure gauges, the book, and everything else. So for braking. Braking is one of the most misunderstood riding techniques, and there are a lot of conflicting data on the subject. Part of what makes braking misunderstood are the differences between automotive and motorcycle brakes. In contrast to cars, motorcycles have separate front and rear brake controls, which require the rider to have specialized skills. Motorcycles also typically have a greater percentage of weight transfer during braking than four-wheeled vehicles. As we apply the brakes, the weight transfers forward, the front tire pushes harder into the road surface, which increases the size of the contact patch and means more traction on the front tire. Similarly, as the weight transfers forward, the rear tire gets lighter and lighter, meaning less and less traction is available from that end. With cruisers, this typically means that we could get about 70% of our braking power out of the front brake and 30% from the rear. On sport bike, this weight transfer can be much more extreme, with the front brake providing approximately 90% of the braking power, leaving on 10% for the rear. You could say that braking experts come in two basic camps. On one hand, there are physicists who like to base their theories on mathematical formulas, exploring what's possible. On the other hand, there are experimentalists whose theories are based on many miles of real-world testing. I fall into later categories, so I'll keep the physics to a minimum and concentrate on what has been proven to work on the field. So Lee Parks, he goes on to say, "It should also be noted that my techniques and theories are based on extensive testing. This includes training over 10,000 students in advanced braking techniques. It also comprises thousands of scientifically controlled and measured braking runs over a 5-year period from 1995 to 2000 as the editor and test writer for Motorcycle Consumer News. During that time, I brake tested virtually every new bike. Based on the distances achieved when comparing those of other motorcycle publications doing similar work, by testing every bike in the same stretch of asphalt in similar conditions, certain truths emerge." Before we get into them, we must talk about stopping from an energy perspective. Then it goes into energy, then the front brake and the rear brake, and stopping distance and body position, all kinds of stuff. Highly recommend getting the book. So first, before I get into braking at faster speeds, I have an entire playlist all about emergency braking, how to stop fast. And I break it down into 4 levels. So the first level is just learn how to stop the bike quickly, which I'm going to review in a second. That's number 1. Level 2, stop quickly and be in first gear before you stop. Just in case the idiot behind you is still texting, you got to be able to take off very quickly as well. Step 3 is stop as fast as you can, be in first gear before you stop. You realize the person is not stopping, and you actually have to take off very quickly. That's why I have a couple videos about how to get out of the way, how to move your bike very quickly, like take off, just in case you have to if the person behind you isn't stopping. And level 4 is stop quickly, make sure you're all the way down in first gear. Someone pulled out in front of you, you have to stop, and there's still someone not stopping behind you, so now you have to be able to take off and swerve around an obstacle. 4 levels to braking, right? And then now this is going into the 5th level. Everything else still applies, but now it's just braking at higher speeds. And what I mean by higher speeds, so if you're going less than about 40 miles per hour, probably 40 miles per hour, somewhere around there, just brake, right? The brakes will do it alone. So once you see what's going to happen, you're going through an intersection, someone blows through a red light, and you have to stop as fast as you can. You roll off the throttle to 0%. As you roll off the throttle, you go up to the front brake. The front brake provides majority of the power, so that's the main focus. It's a smooth, increasing pressure on the front brake. So if you're a numbers person, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 90, 100% braking. All the weight goes forward, providing all that grip, all the way down to with the front brake. With the rear brake, you start off with a little bit of pressure, and then you taper off, because the weight's going forward. So the rear end is going to start to skid if you just smash down on top of it. A lot of people ask me about the braking stuff for stopping quickly specifically. What about ABS? My bike has ABS. Does that mean I could just go 100% on the brakes? No, because grabbing is always a bad thing, stomping is always a bad thing, and that's not a technique. What if the technology fails? What if you ride someone else's bike? What if you buy a new bike that doesn't have the technology? All you're doing is building bad habits of grabbing and stomping. So it is always technique over technology. I turned the ABS off on my GS. I've had bikes that didn't have any technology at all, like the DRZ. It does not matter what bike I ride, the technique is the same. Stopping as fast as you can. You reach up, 0% throttle. As you go to 0% throttle, your fingers, however many you need to stop the bike, your fingers automatically go up to the front brake, and you squeeze the front brake like it's an orange. Squeeze all the juice out of that orange. That is the technique on any bike. If you do have ABS, anti-lock brakes, ABS doesn't mean anti-crash. It doesn't mean anti-flip over the handlebars. It doesn't mean I could grab the brakes as hard as I can. That's not what it means. So if you get on the brakes too aggressively, too fast, the front tire can't handle that, right? So the ABS might engage and you're gonna feel it. And you need to know what that feels like by practicing, like in a big empty parking lot, to see what the limits of your braking is before you ever have to do it out in the public roads. The first time you feel what ABS is and how fast you could actually stop your bike from 40, 50, 60 miles per hour, I hope it's not actually going down the highway and now your first time doing it is when there's really is a car in front of you. That's insane to me, right? You gotta go practice and get the feel for it first in a safe, controlled environment with good grip and practice that in the dry first, right? And you get used to your braking, get used to your braking, get used to your braking. And once you get used to that, the next time it's rainy or wet outside, we'll go practice braking again and see what your distances are with less traction available. But you gotta get the technique first, right? So smooth increasing pressure on the front brake. If the ABS engages, it's gonna feel it pulse. The ABS engages, you go on the brakes, it's too much, it wants to skid, so it releases pressure a little bit, then reapplies pressure. And that's what's done electronically. If your rear ABS ever engages, just know you have a personal instructor on your bike built in. If your rear ABS ever engages and it's going click, 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 and you could hear it, that means you went way too much rear brake pressure. The rear brake should never engage, nor should the rear brake ever skid. That's what's stopping quickly. It's all about the front brake. Smooth, increasing pressure on the front brake. So let's look at it visually. So to summarize, in case that wasn't all clear, I don't care what technology you have on the bike. I don't care if you have a bike like my bike that's integrated brakes, link brakes. The front brake is a priority. Whatever technology is above and beyond that, who cares? It's all about the front brake technique, not the technology that's on the bike. So here's the pressure, here's 0% and here's 100%, say, and then here's time or distance, right? This is all the front brake. So what's important is this. When you first go to the brakes, once you get on the brakes, the suspension collapses, and however much suspension travel you have, maybe it's like 6 inches on most street bikes, or if you have a dual sport bike, it's a lot longer travel. So once you get on the brake, you have to wait just that 1/10 of a second to get the suspension to collapse. Then your weight, the motorcycle weight, all the weight can then start to smash the front tire harder into the ground, providing all that grip. So if you just go from 0 to 30%, you forgot a lot of numbers. That's a grab, right? You gotta go 10, 20, 30. So in the very, very beginning, it's kind of slow. And when I say this, it's literally maybe a half of a second. It's a slight difference. And how are you gonna feel this out? Through a tremendous amount of repetition. Because someone's looking at this but don't actually go on their bike and practice. They're like, well, what's the difference? Like, you gotta wait a little bit, and then when do you get on the brake? All those questions will go away if you actually get out on your bike, get off YouTube, stop watching the video right now, and go practice emergency braking over and over and over and over again. Doing that 5 minutes a day is way better than 1 hour a week. And I'll get into what to practice in a little bit. So in the very beginning, just a slight half-second delay, you gotta get the suspension to collapse to get the weight to go to the front tire. After that, you could build up pressure very, very quickly, right? So it's smooth, get the weight to go down, and then once the weight goes down, then you could increase that pressure. There's no sharp edges, right? It's not this. That's wrong, that's a grab. So here, the first line, it's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. This is 10, 20, 100. That's a grab. And it don't matter where the grab is. So you're going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, then all of a sudden you go straight to 100, you grabbed at the end. Grabbing is always bad. It has to be a smooth squeeze. You can still stop quickly because there's a car in front of you, but there's a big difference between grabbing and squeezing. How do you know the difference and what that feels like? You're gonna be surprised when I say this. You have to go practice a tremendous amount of times, right? That's the front brake. The rear brake, so if this is 0%, so you're gonna add a little bit of rear brake, maybe 10, 20%, right? And then you taper off. Coming to a stop. So here's like say the line goes like this, right? And you finally come to a stop right here. So with the front brake, you smooth increasing pressure. With the rear brake, you start off with a little bit, right? But as the weight goes forward and all the weight goes down to the front tire, the rear end gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So you need to taper off the rear brake. So I tell people whenever I'm teaching the class and we're doing emergency braking, start off with like say 10% and then go to 0. By the time you stop, you should have 0 rear brake. And if you have a upright bike or a sport bike, just like it says in Lee Park's book, at the end of the stop on an upright bike or sport bike, you're probably doing a stoppy at the end of the stop. So if the rear tire comes off the ground a little bit at the very end of the stop, how much rear brake do you need? 0. So when the rear tire does come off the ground, it should be spinning. So that means you actually did the technique right, which is light to lighter. And let me just find this real quick about braking and the whole stoppy thing. At the very end of the stop, just before you think the bike will cease moving, a small additional pressure on the brake lever will cause the rear end to lift the bike. This action converts the last little bit of kinetic energy into potential energy. On a sport bike, a good goal is for a 12-inch stoppy in good traction conditions. So at the so he says at the end of the stop, a 1-foot high stoppy at the very end, that can save you 1 or 2 feet of forward momentum. Now what's more important, doing a little stoppy at the end of the stop or going 2 more feet and hitting a little kid that jumped in front of you, right? And you got to build up to it. And I've done many times in the course or just practicing with friends, people never did a little stoppy in their life, but you just keep on coaching them, more front brake, squeeze the front brake all the way down, keep on going. The bike just automatically does it if you're on an upright bike or a sport bike, right? So just keep that in mind. So this is the technique. Smooth increasing pressure, more. With the rear brake, less. Okay? So there's just that. So now, let me go into a couple other things. So that's just stopping. That's like a review of normally stopping. Again, I have an entire playlist all about this stuff. Because, why do I talk about braking so much and learning how to use the brakes? Most people crash because they hit stuff. 90% of the accidents, the motorcyclist is the striking vehicle. Never heard anybody dying doing a U-turn in a parking lot. Always hear people crashing and dying because they can't slow down their bike. They can't stop the bike and they hit something. Either a guardrail, they can't slow down in the corner. They can't slow down when a car pulls out in front of them. They just can't slow down. They don't use the brakes. They believe all these idiots out there that say the front brake will make you crash. Don't touch the front brake in the turn. All these stupid things coming from people that don't know what they're talking about. So stop listening to white belts with an opinion. They don't know what they're doing. Take high-level formal training and get out there and practice using the brakes especially. So that was all just a review about how to stop. Again, I got a bunch of videos about how to do it. Now this specifically, how to stop at faster speeds. So I never mentioned this before in any other video because there's layers to everything, right? So remember all those 4 different layers I talked about earlier? You could pause the video and go back and listen to what those are. So now the 5th layer, everything still applies, but now you're at going faster speeds. So keep in mind, it's always situational dependent. When are you going to ever have to stop at 70 miles per hour? I don't know. But there could be a bunch of times when you might do that. It all depends on the circumstances. So of course, once you go maybe 40 miles per hour more, maybe the faster option, maybe the better option is just to swerve out of the way. So you have to practice doing that as well. But just in case you do have to stop at that speed, once you go above 40 miles per hour, in my experience, in my repetition, in my thousands of hours of practice, under 40 miles per hour, you just use the brakes. So this is what happens. All 4 extremities happen at the same time. So you reach up, you roll off the throttle to 0%, you go up on the brakes, you start squeezing the brakes. At the exact same time, you're reaching up, you're pulling in the clutch all the way. And then while you're stopping, that process and the distance of you stopping, always make sure you're in first gear before you stop, just in case the idiot is not stopping, you could take off and go. Basic, okay? Now, when you're stopping faster, at faster speeds, over 40 miles per hour, in my experience, you're going 60, 70 miles per hour and you have to stop fast. The brakes, everything guys is identical to what I just said. Everything. But this is the difference. So you got the front brake. It's doing its thing, right? Smooth increase in pressure. You got the rear brake. You start off with a little bit, then you're tapering off to 0. But now you're going to start to use the engine to help you slow down. And everything I'm about to say, it may not make any sense to you because maybe you simply never have tried it. And it takes a tremendous amount of dexterity and feel and awareness and calm while you're braking very hard and you got the technique down. You got to make sure you got the technique down very well before you start to introduce this. Otherwise, it's going to mess you all up. So you got the brakes all down, everything is good. You know how to do that very, very well, very consistently. Now, if you're going at faster speeds, you can get the engine to help slow you down as well. So during this whole process of the front and the rear, you're braking like normal, right? So say you're going 50 miles per hour in fourth gear, let's just say, right? So this is what I would do. Now I'm stopping very fast, roll off the throttle, get onto the front brake, start to add a little bit of rear brake, taper off, I pull in the clutch. Same in fourth gear, I will go down to second gear as I'm stopping. Everything is still in play. I'm not releasing the brakes, I'm not doing anything. I'm increasing pressure on the brakes. I go down to second gear because I'm in fourth. I go down to second gear and I ease out the clutch a little bit to get the engine to help slow me down. And then as I go slower, I pull in the clutch in. I go back down to first gear. Now I have more engine braking and I slow myself down. So as I'm increasing pressure with my right hand, I'm pulling in the clutch, downshifting, and then easing out to get that extra engine braking to help slow down. Then I'm pulling it back in, downshifting again and doing that again. And then right before I stop, I got to pull the clutch in all the way before I stop. Otherwise the bike is going to stall. So that takes a lot because I'm doing this with this hand. I'm downshifting, squeezing the front brake continuously. There's no pause in the squeeze, and the rear brake is going light to lighter. So when I first started riding, I played the drums before when I was younger, right? So doing both hands and both feet at the same time, that wasn't a big deal. So that's what made riding easy for me to learn because I knew how to do both things all at once. It doesn't mean I was any good in the beginning, I wasn't, but I just understood both hands, both feet. This is the extreme level of that because you are literally doing different things with every single extremity. The front brake, you roll off, smooth, increasing pressure. The rear brake, here's your foot, here's the rear brake pedal. You're going from your foot peg, you're going up, you're going on the rear brake a little bit, but then you're tapering off the rear brake nice and easy. With your left foot, you're downshifting a couple gears, right? And then you're waiting, then you're downshifting a couple more gears, you're doing something different. It's pausing. With the left hand, you're squeezing in the clutch, immediately right away you start to squeeze in the clutch, and you downshift, and you ease out the clutch, and you pull it back in, you downshift. That's all happening at once. It's a tremendous amount, but it does make a difference. I found at faster speeds, the extra little help of the engine to slow me down, it does make a distance. It does make a difference in the distance of how long it takes me to stop. So it does make a difference. Now, that was just an example at 50 miles per hour sales in fourth gear. But now let's say I'm on the highway and there's no escape route. So there's a car next to me right here. I'm on the fast lane, farthest left lane. So there's a barrier right there. There's a cement wall. There's cars right here. And someone slams on the brakes in front of me. Let's say there's no other escape route. Let's just say that's the situation I'm in. I'm going 80 miles per hour in sixth gear. Now how do I stop fast? So now that I'm in 80 miles per hour and in sixth gear, every single thing still applies, but now I'm going to pull in the clutch, probably go down to like third gear, and then get that engine braking slow. I don't release the clutch all the way. Definitely don't do that. But I get it to the point where it starts to bite. You feel like it starts to engage, and I can feel the pull of the engine slowing me down. And then slow, and then go back down a couple more gears. First gear, slow, and help slow me down as much as possible. So I'm using every tool available. Now, you're probably thinking, holy crap, that's a lot of information. Or you're thinking, I need to go practice braking more. I hope you're thinking both of those things because it is a lot of information, and yes, you do need to go practice more. So when you go practice, this is what I recommend you do. So you take off, right? You're going 20 miles per hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers per hour, but someone could figure it out. 20 miles per hour, right? You get a rock or a piece of trash or just a tar snake on the line, whatever it is. Once your front, hold 20 miles per hour. Once your front tire gets right to that line or that piece of trash or that chalk mark, whatever it is, you should absolutely easily be able to stop 16 feet. 20 miles per hour, second gear. Why not just first gear? Because I want you to practice downshifting and being in first before you stop. So 20 miles per hour in second gear, go. Once you get to right here, stop as fast as you can. You should be able to, if your braking technique is good, you should be able to stop 16 feet or less without skidding the tires, activating ABS, be in first gear, have the clutch pulled in, don't stall the bike, looking up the whole time, not staring down at the ground. All that should be able to happen, and that's a good stop. Your eyes are straight the whole way, smooth increased pressure on the front brake, the ABS is not engaging, the clutch is pulled in, you're back in first, everything is good, you're upright straight the whole time. That's what a good stop is. Do this until you could do it 20 times in a row without messing up. If your brake messes up a little bit, you go past the 16-foot line, do it again. It doesn't count. You go right here and you skid the rear tire the last 3 feet, that's not a good run. Go do it again. Finally, you do one and everything was good. That's one. Do it 19 more times in a row. Because Forrest Gump could do anything once. If you could do something 19, 20 times in a row, you actually know what you're doing. So there's where to start. Then, get good at this, right? And then just simply increase the speed, 25 miles per hour. Same thing, 25 miles per hour, let's say 18 feet. 25 miles per hour, 18 feet. Learn to stop. Excuse. Practice. Do this 5 minutes a day. That's all it takes. This is better to do 5 minutes a day than try to do an hour straight at one time. Plus, if you're going to like a clean area, a cul-de-sac, an empty road, a parking lot, whatever else, make sure it's good grip, obviously. Make sure your tire pressure is correct. You have gear on. All that stuff should be without saying, right? That's obvious stuff. So you get good at this. Then you go find an empty road. You go find a big, huge open area, whatever. You could go a little bit faster, right? So now go 40 miles per hour and be in fourth gear. 40 miles per hour, fourth gear. Go. Stop. How fast can you stop? See what the distance is, right? And at every parking space, like in here, every parking space is about 8 feet. So if it takes you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parking spaces to stop, 5 times 8, that's 40 feet, right? So if you're stopping right there, okay, practice. And if you're practicing with buddies, maybe your buddy is stopping at the third parking space. 1, 2, 3, 8 times 3 is 24. So let's see how fast you can stop, Practice. But now when you're going faster in the higher gear, once you get good at practicing, this is priority. Most people that I've ever met on bikes, every time I do these one-on-ones and we do emergency braking, most people cannot do this. They 25 miles per hour second gear, they cannot stop their bike effectively, consistently, and consistently without stalling the bike, without skidding the tire. Most people just need to work on this for a long time. But now you're going faster, you get the braking technique done, you can stop very consistently. Now you go faster in fourth gear, now start adding the downshift, a couple gears, and then easing out the clutch a little bit and feeling that pull of the engine to slow you down. I'm telling you, it helps. Engine braking can help. When you're stopping at faster speeds. When you're going at slower speeds, less than 40 miles per hour, you're stopping so quickly, there's not really enough time to be able to do the downshifting thing and ease out the clutch. Because whenever you start doing this, and you start thinking about the whole clutch stuff, people release pressure on the brakes, and now it just takes you longer to stop. So the number one thing is you got to get the brakes down perfect. So that way, once you start to brake, no matter what you're doing, this doesn't release. You just keep on squeezing, okay? So don't try to do this too early because it's going to mess up your braking. You have to get the brakes down first, 100%. Remember the four levels? First, stop. I don't even care if you touch the clutch and stall the bike. Just stop the bike, dude. Just stop. Number 2, stop and be in first gear. Don't stall. Number 3, stop, be in first gear, and take off as fast as you can as well. Number 4, stop as fast as you can, be in first gear, stop. You have to take off, but now there's something in front of you like a car. You have to take off and then go around the car. Level 5 is everything remains the same, but now it's at faster speed. Now you add the clutch. Whole lot of stuff to practice. So if anything, if you're only listening to what I'm saying to you right now and you're already zoned off and you're sleeping, go out 5 minutes a day, find some clean pavement somewhere, and practice stopping your bike as fast as you can. Go 20, 25 miles per hour in second gear. Once you get to whatever this is, a piece of rock, a dead squirrel, whatever it is, stop your bike. 18 feet or less, 16 feet or less, whatever it is, just try to be consistent and try to brake as best as you can without skidding the tire, activating ABS. And I recommend if you have ABS, go 20 miles per hour, don't even touch the front brake, just stomp on the rear brake. Feel what the ABS feels like. You gotta know what that sensation is. Feel what the ABS feels like. Get a little bit aggressive on the front brake and make the ABS engage. Feel what that feels like. Do what I do on my GS. I turn off the ABS, now I'm doing stoppies on the big old GS. I purposely skid the front tire just to see what that feels like. I stomp on the rear and I turn the handlebars and I start to skid just to get what that sensation feels like. Because whenever something happens and it's like, holy crap, this is bad. I'm stopping, then I have to go into the gravel and do all this stuff. I don't want my first reaction to be in this situation. Oh my God, what is it going to feel like when the rear tire starts to skid sideways? I go practice that a whole lot prior to that happening. So keep that in mind. Just real quick, since I just thought of it and I've been talking about it, right? So just in case you're going and you're practicing, you don't have ABS, you do have ABS, whatever it is, if your tires start to skid, or if your ABS engages, which is mean your tires would have been skidding. So at the front brake, you're squeezing, but it was a little bit too abrupt right here and you grabbed it, the ABS engages and it's more than twice. Click, 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 click. Say it engages 3 times. that means you grabbed at some point right here, because it will not engage if you go smooth increasing pressure. If you do have ABS on the front and you cannot turn it off to practice, if your ABS engages one time at the very, very end of the stop, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do anything. That means if you did not have ABS, the front tire would have skidded just a little bit at the very, very end of the stop. That's perfectly fine. But if you start to brake and your ABS is engaging right here, you went from 0 to 80%. The weight is not down smashing that front tire into the ground yet. You're going too hard. You're going like this, right? You got to get the weight to transfer. So it's a smooth increasing pressure, right? That's why the graph looks like this, right? If you're doing anything other than that, that's just going to start activating your ABS, and it just takes longer and longer and longer and longer to stop whenever that happens, right? Because it's releasing pressure, you're rolling forward, then it re-engages the pressure, and you still brake and try hard, releases pressure, then, right? So practice the technique, regardless of what your bike has. Now, if your rear ABS engages, it's always wrong. Your rear ABS should never engage, ever. Nor should your rear tire ever be skidding. But unfortunately, you know what happens, right? Here's a mountain road. Here's a turn, right? Here's a guardrail. Right, here's some grass. You're going around a mountain road, right? Something happens right here, and the motorcycle's like, I don't know what to do. And they just go, and they hit the guardrail and they fly off the cliff. A lot of times when people crash, look at the police report or just look at accidents. There's a thick black line sliding directly into whatever it is they didn't want to hit. Why is that? Because people don't practice their braking. They don't know the technique. They don't practice what they were taught. And they don't do it enough to get consistent at it, right? To build that muscle memory. And people just stomp on the rear. The rear tire locks up, you start to skid with only 30% or less power, and it takes you forever to damn stop the bike. This is very, very common. Big, thick, black line sliding straight. Your rear tire should never skid. Your rear ABS should never engage, ever. Why would it ever engage? Unless you're purposely practicing to see what it feels like. Whenever you're coming to a stop sign, whenever you're practicing stopping quickly, the technique for the rear brake when you're stopping quickly is you start off with a little bit, while the weight's still on the rear, start off with a little bit, right? But then you taper off the rear brake. If you're stopping normally at coming to a stop sign, you could use the rear brake only, just keep on increasing pressure on the rear brake, just coming to a stop sign, a normal, easy stop. That's perfectly fine. It's not going to skid the tire doing that unless you push way too much pressure or way too fast, or the ABS isn't just going to come into play. It's not just going to engage, just coming to a stop like normal, unless you just have a heavy foot and keep on stomping, which is a good indication you need to practice way more damn braking, because most people are light switches on and off. This is what they are. This is how they are with the brakes all the time. They're on the brakes, they're off the brakes, and their whole damn brakes are going like this, and it's just a heartbeat. You need to be more like a hill. Everything is smoothly on, is smoothly off. The clutch, the front brake lever, the throttle, slowly on, slowly off. This is what your goal is. Everything is a dimmer switch, right? So a lot of people are the light switches. They're either on, off, on, off, on, off. All your controls are a dimmer switch. You have this little lever. You can smoothly go up. You can smoothly go down. Smooth up, smooth down. Dimmer switches. Everything is smooth on and off. That's what being smooth means. It's slowing down your hands so there's no movement going like this back and forth. That's always because your hands are too fast. So I hope all this stuff made sense. I hope you're thinking right now, I'm going to pause this video. I'll go back and rewatch this later on. But I want to go get on my damn bike. I want to go find a clean place of cement somewhere. And it doesn't have to be much room. All you need is, 16 feet about this wide of clean pavement. Everything else could be trash. But if you have a clean piece of pavement this wide and 16 feet long, 20 feet long, then you can go practice the stuff. Better make it 20 feet long because you're not going to be able to stop that fast at first. Make it 20 feet long, 2 feet wide, nice and clean. That's all you really need. Go out and practice. I don't care if it's a dead-end road. I don't care if it's your neighborhood in your front of your house. If there's no one around, it's in the morning or later on at night, go practice for 5 minutes. Again, 5 minutes is better than trying to practice 35 minutes at the end of the week. Better to do 5 minutes a day. It's consistency over intensity, like that one MMA trainer said talking about jiu-jitsu. Better to practice 20 minutes a day than trying to do 2 hours at the end of the week, because then you just get injured and too tired, right? Overtraining. Anyway, hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching, everyone. Share this video. I really do believe, like the other video I have, it's called Your Best Friend, the Brakes. It's one of my more popular videos, and it's literally 30 minutes of me talking all about the brakes, about why it's so important to learn the brakes, the statistics, how most people crash and they don't know how to use the damn brakes, especially in the turn. This is all in a straight line, right? Then it goes into a whole nother level of like, now you gotta be able to do all this stuff in the middle of a turn. So now you're in the middle of a turn, now you have to stop as fast as you can. Most people don't know what to do in a straight line, let alone mid-turn. And you can absolutely use the brakes in the middle of the turn. If you grab, you're probably going to crash, almost guaranteed. But if you squeeze the brakes, and as you squeeze the brakes, the bike slows down. As you can take away lean angle, the bike has more traction because it's more upright. And you can squeeze on the brakes and get harder. Whole nother level going into below that. So 5 levels for this in a straight line. Now let's do everything in the middle of the turn. Just understand there's a whole lot more to learn, and you need to practice, and you need to keep practicing. Then once you think you got it, you need to keep practicing, and then jump on someone else's bike, and then practice more, and then do more practice. And once you get done practicing, you should probably practice. And before you go lunch or you go for a ride, you should go practice for a little bit for 5 minutes. Then once you get back from the ride, maybe you should practice, and you should probably practice. And I forgot to mention, make sure you go and practice this stuff.